Alright, this will be the final part of New Meds. And yeah, without further ado, here is New Meds by Ace_Lottle, Chapter 21. Summary. Red and Con spar. Then Jason and Robin have a chat. Timothy leads Con to a study on the second floor and does something that Con isn't watching closely to the clock hands that opens up to an elevator behind it. Sick, Con breathes out at the reveal. Timothy chuckles and leads him into the elevator. As they stand together in the elevator, Timothy leans against Con's side. It's red now, by the way. They say quietly, as if worried about the response. Con just looks down at them, smiles and nods. They reach the cave and Red drags them over to the mats. Both of them run through some stretches. Con mostly follows along with what he can do of Red's stretching, noticing just how much of a gap there is between their flexibility. Con tries to match the way Red is basically folded himself in half, and pouts when he can only get about half as far. Red happens to look up at that exact moment and laughs at his face. This prompts Con to stick his tongue out, and Red laughs harder. The two of them take their time catching their breaths before finally getting into position to spar. They've been going at it for about 20 minutes. Red is just starting to get out of breath when Con hears a bike roaring into the cave. Who'd be coming at this time? Red keeps up the spar, trying to take advantage of Con's distraction. Only he wasn't distracted, so he grabs Red's kick and tries to push him off balance. Red just follows through the push and lands neatly back on his feet just out of reach. Not Duke or Damien, they're at school. B and Dick are upstairs, not Cass. Could be Steph or Jason. Red rushes at Con as they grapple for a moment. Then, when Red freezes, it takes Con a moment to notice that he's stopped fighting back. When he does, he pulls back and looks at Red. Red, you okay? Red starts backing away from the main area of the cave, which also means backing away from Con. Con raises its hands where they can see them and tries to look as non-threatening as possible. Then they notice that Red is staring over his shoulder. Con quickly glances over and spots Red Hood, helmet and all, standing at the computer. He flicks back around to Robin, because of course it's Robin now. Hey, it's okay. Con approaches Robin, where he's backed against the far wall as quickly as he dares. Con places a hand on his shoulder, and Robin looks in his face for a second before returning his stare to Red Hood. In that second, Con has plenty of time to take in the fear and pain flooding his eyes. Do you want me to stay with you or go talk to Red? I can ask him to take off the helmet, but if you'd rather I stay here. Robin stays frozen for a long time. Con had almost given up waiting for a response by the time he stutters out a single word. Stay. Con smiles sadly and settles himself on the floor next to Robin, gently putting an arm around his shoulders, and his other hand grabs Robin's hand that is closest to him. Of course, I'm right here. Together they sit and watch Red Hood as he works at the computer. To anyone watching, it would seem that Hood hadn't noticed them, but Robin knows he has. Robin can also tell when he keeps flicking his gaze over to them. Therefore, he isn't surprised when Red Hood starts walking towards them. It doesn't stop him from tensing through his whole body first. Con moves slightly to shield Robin without blocking his view. No, if you're coming to talk, the helmet comes off, Con yells through the space between them. Hood stops where he is, standing still and watching them. Then slowly he reaches up and unlatches the helmet, still moving slowly. He bends down and places the helmet on the floor. No one says a word, but Con feels Robin relax behind him and nods tersely. Jason stops a few feet away from Folds to sit down on the floor across from them. Con moves himself so that he's once again sitting next to Robin instead of half in front of him. They sit and watch each other for a long time. Then Jason states, "You don't like the helmet." Robin scoffs. "Do you blame me? That helmet holds the memories of you breaking into the place that I consider closest to a home and beating me within an inch of my life." Jason nods in acknowledgement. "I understand, and I'm sorry about that, by the way. Don't know if I ever said that, and you deserve to hear it. It was awful of me to do so, and you didn't deserve that, so I'm sorry." Robin shakes his head and waves Jason off. "You have. You're the only one who has, but oh well." Jason brows furrow. "The point is, everyone else has forgiven you. I suppose I have to too. It's just always going to be a trigger. I forgive you, and I understand you weren't in your right mind, but it sucked, and it was terrifying, and it hurt, and that's not going to go away." Jason nods as he says, "Makes sense." Then, watching carefully for any hint of negative reaction, he reaches out and ruffles Robin's hair. "As long as you know I'll always be your brother." Robin glares at him but he just levels him with a serious look. "Call me if you need me, yeah?" Robin huffs and rolls his eyes. "Yeah, I will." Jason nods, satisfied. He gets up and walks back to pick up the helmet, and it's only on his way out of the cave Robin calls after him. "Thank you, Jason. You're a good brother." He would never confess it, but Jason teared up at that. Not being able to think of a reply, he jams the helmet back over his head and waves back over his shoulder. With that, Con and Robin are alone in the cave once more. Robin stays tense for a few moments longer before he sags into Con's shoulder. "I mean it," Robin mutters into Con's chest. "He's a good brother, and Tim and have some of the others love him, but I just can't help the fact that that stupid helmet is always going to scare me." Con rubs his back and holds him close. "Hey, that's okay. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. However you feel about it is acceptable." They sit together on the floor for a long time. Robin completely relaxes, and all the tension drains slowly out of their shoulders. "Can we spar some more? We didn't get a good session in before I fell apart." Con chuckles, then floats the two of them to their feet. Robin giggles at his antics. He stretches slightly and shakes out his limbs before falling into a ready position. For a while, they trade blows back and forth, Con holding back on his powers, but not on his fighting. Even if Robin isn't at full strength coming out of his fever, he's still very good at what he does, and it takes every trick Con knows just to keep up. The next interruption comes in the form of Duke coming down and getting prepared to go at a signal. "Hey guys," he calls, out on his way to reach for his gear. Robin and Con step back from each other. Neither of them pant heavily, but Robin is drenched in sweat. "Hey Duke, how was school?" Robin calls out, rubbing himself down with a towel. He'll take a shower before going back upstairs. Alfred wouldn't be pleased with him if he didn't. But he can wait until Duke's out on patrol. We have this group project in history, and it's so hard to actually organize my group to meet up and work on it. Duke makes his way to the main cave dressed in everything but his helmet. He starts working through the checks of all his gear as he keeps talking. "I've had a chat with Bruce and Alfred, and they said as long as you're okay with it, I can talk to them about coming over on the weekend and try to get it done." Robin looks up at that. "I mean, I don't get why you have to ask me, but sure." Duke doesn't stop his checks. "I mean, you're staying here too. Bruce doesn't want to risk adding your condition to others without your permission." Robin rolls his eyes. "Ugh, I hate that he's making us stay here, but I guess if we're really gonna start medication, we kinda have to." Con looks over at Robin. "Oh well, I guess we can just hang out in our room with Con and leave you guys alone anyway. It'll be fine." "Wait, you knew about the new meds?" "They said the thing," Colin asked in confusion. "Huh? Oh yeah, Tim was the only one that didn't, so it kind of freaked him out, which in turn freaked out, well, someone else, but because the fear of being drugged against our will flooded our system." Con just nods, slowly wrapping his mind around how that works. "Anyway, good luck on patrol, Duke. I'm gonna take a shower." And he does. It leaves Con and Duke behind to stare after him. Duke shrugs, and having finished his checks, puts on his helmet and heads out. And Con is left alone to wait for Robin to return. Chapter 22. Summary. Bruce promises Tim to try and be better. Con and Robin make their way back up to the manor, except they're not Robin anymore. Con's pretty sure that the switch happened at some point in the elevator. He's proven correct when Tim leans over and murmurs, "How long have I been gone?" Con looks at him and thinks back. "Tim, right?" Tim nods into his shoulder. "Then I'm pretty sure you fell asleep with me this morning. I woke up Timothy for lunch, then me and Red, and then Robin sparred for a little while. Duke's gone out, so it's probably around 4 in the afternoon?" Tim sags into Con's hold and wraps an arm around his waist. "What do you want to do now?" Tim hums. Can we just go sit in the lounge and play video games or something?" Tim stands up slightly, but stays wrapped under Con's arm as they head to the lounge with the gaming setup. "I just don't want to think about it right now." "Hey, that's okay. We can go play some games and you can utterly crush me, okay?" That gets a chuckle out of Tim. "Do you want me to get Bart and Cassie in on it?" Tim immediately shakes his head, then looks guilty. "All good. Just the two of us. Make my defeat feel less humiliating." I still can't say the word. I give up. I'm sorry. This time Tim doesn't laugh. "I just don't want them to know yet," he whispers. Con stops walking and pulls Tim into a hug, holding him tight until Tim's arms come up around him. That's all right. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You also don't have to tell anyone until you're ready. Con releases Tim and looks him in the eyes. It's on your terms. Or the others, I guess, he mutters darkly. I guess, but I'm pretty sure they only told people because they had to and had become necessary. Tim just grunts, and they continue to the lounge. They get there, and thankfully it is empty. Con leads Tim to the couch and makes him sit there while he grabs a remote and controllers. Tim rolls his eyes but lets him do what he wants. The two of them settle in for a long while. They find some peace together. Con is absolutely right, and Tim crushes him at Mario Kart over and over again. They're about to change games when Bruce walks in. Tim tenses up where he is leaning against Con's side. In response, Con squeezes his shoulder. Hey, sweetheart. Who's here right now? Bruce asks as he sits on the lounge chair to the side of the couch they've taken over. Tim is the only response. Neither of them say anything for a while. Tim staring at the ground in front of the couch, and Bruce staring at Tim. Con has to refrain from shifting uncomfortably from the tension in the room. Bruce is the first to finally break the silence. Good. That's good. I was wanting to see how you were holding up. It's a lot to take in. Tim hesitates before saying, It is. Another long pause. I'm fine, I guess. A lot of things are starting to make sense now. Tim keeps staring at the floor while Bruce watches him carefully. They sit like that for so long. Con gives up and trying to hold still and starts fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. You know you don't have to be fine, right? Bruce says carefully. Whatever. He finally looks at Bruce, visibly steeling himself. I am, though. It's a lot to think about, and maybe it wasn't okay to start with, but I'm fine now. Bruce meets Tim's glare, and it is a glare. I don't think you are, Bruce states simply, and Tim huffs in response. Look, I'm fine. Tim lets his gaze fall away, floating for a bit before settling back to a spot on the floor in front of the couch. No, you're not, Bruce interrupts. Tim's gaze snaps back to him. So what? You've just decided I'm broken? That I need to be medicated? What's next? You're going to force me into therapy? Tim's voice is rising, and Con starts rubbing his back as he sits upright. Not to calm him down, but to show him that he's there to support him. Tim, no, you're not broken, and I'm not going to force anything you don't want. Yes, I will recommend medication and therapy because I do think it would be good for you, but I would never force you. It has come to your own decision. Bruce tries to be placating, being as gentle as he can. It's still not enough. So what happened before? Just thought you'd put the meds in front of me and see what I did? That was all my choice, was it? Tim's yelling now, and Con can hear Damien, Dick, and Alfred just outside the door. Damien and Dick seem nervous, though Alfred remains calm. Bruce looks shocked. No, sweetheart, that's not what I was trying to do. Tim scoffs. Con squeezes his shoulder. You came to see Leslie with me, or another alter did. They agreed to take the medication. I should have realized I need your permission as well, and I'm sorry. I didn't talk to you about it, but I had permission from the others, and they thought it was what was best for you. Tim starts tearing up and sniffs. They don't get to decide what's best for me. Only I do. Tim's voice is calmed, but Con can tell he's still feeling a lot inside. The tears start dripping from his chin as he reaches a hand to wipe them away. Con leans into Tim's side, offering the comfort of his presence. Bruce nods slowly. I understand that now. I promise, going forward, I will make sure that all of you can be involved in this decision. Bruce leans forward and places a hand on Tim's knee. He waits until Tim looks up at him. I promise. Tim sniffles but nods. Thank you. I do have one more thing I want to talk to you about. You can take your time thinking it over, and I'll make sure to talk to everyone, but how would you feel about moving back into the manor? Bruce looks uncomfortable as he asks. No, Tim immediately replies. Tim, please, just think about it. Tim sighs. Fine, I'll think about it. Thank you. I just get worried about you hurting on your own, or if JJ gets distressed, or if someone shows up and Timmy is the one fronting and can't defend himself. Tim just nods, looking slightly dazed. Bruce seems to pick up on that and stands up. I'll leave you to go back to your games, though I'm sure Alfred will have dinner ready in a little while. Thank you for talking to me, Tim. When the only response he gets back is a small hum, Bruce nods again and walks away. He ushers Dick and Damien away from the door as he goes, Alfred having left as soon as the yelling died down. Tim lies back against Con, and Con can see that he's not fully present. Con waits until he knows that no one can hear them before he says anything. Hey, you're drifting off. Do you want me to bring you back, or are you okay? Tim blinks blankly and hums noncommittally. Con waits for a moment, and then Tim gently shakes his head. He still sounds a bit floaty when he speaks. No, I have a question. Just give me a second. Con hums in agreement and starts rubbing his hand up and down Tim's arm. Tim blinks and he shakes his head down more before trying to talk again. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back. Hey, don't apologize, it's okay. Con keeps rubbing Tim's shoulder. I wanted to ask, do you know how many others there are? Well, I talked to Timothy about it, and he told me 6 others, I think there was. Tim nods against Con's shoulders. There's Timothy. He says he mostly takes care of Galas and Wayne Enterprise. There's Timmy. He is a child, and how Alfred found out about that stuff. There's Red and Robin. They both take care of vigilante stuff. Timothy said JJ is a prosecutor. I don't really understand them, but they tend to show up when you're distressed. And the last one, I don't know what they're called, but they looked after you when you were looking for Bruce. Tim sags further into Con's hold and thinks it all over. Wow, that's a lot. Well, not a lot, Walters, just, yeah, lots. Con says nothing, just keeps his arm around him and lets him process in silence. Wait, Red and Robin? Why 2 of them? Tim tilts his head back to look at Con. Oh, yeah, if I'm right, it has to do with something with, how you and Jason first met at the tower. Tim drops his head back down. Yeah, that makes sense. They sit in silence until Alfred comes to get them for dinner. Con's pretty sure Tim started disassociating again, but he was present enough to follow Con to the dining room and make it through dinner, and that's all that's important for now. Chapter 23, Summary. Timothy blows up at Dick. Thursday morning comes with Tim camping out on the mattress Alfred had allowed him to put in the foot of Tim's bed. He wakes with the sun, as he always been proven to doing so. He is hoping Tim will sleep longer, even though he's had a few naps recently. The last week or so has been very draining, so after sitting up to check on Tim, Con lays in bed and scrolls through various social media platforms silently until a restless feeling in his bones overwhelms him. Checking on Tim once more and seeing he's still sleeping, Con makes his way to the attached bathroom and gets into the shower. By the time he's out and dressed, Tim is sitting up on the bed. He just watches Con quietly and suspiciously. Con cautiously makes his way over to the end of the bed and sits facing Tim. Do you know who I am? Con asks, watching Tim closely. Tim tilts his head and considers Con for a second. Timothy said that you're my friend. Your name is Con, right? Con nods, smiling gently. I am. And you're Timmy, aren't you? Timmy beans back. All right, Timmy, why don't we go get breakfast and you can tell me what you want to do today. Con floats to his feet and holds out a hand to Timmy, carefully to not encroach the space but offering him the option. Timmy looks at the hand and slowly reaches out his own hand. They hold hands, and Timmy seems to be holding his breath, waiting for something to happen. When nothing does, he looks at Con in the face and smiles shyly. Con just smiles back and leads him down to the kitchen. By the time they have made it down there, Duke and Damien are at school, but Alfred's back. Dick is hanging around, but he's not in the kitchen. Bruce had to go into the office to make up for Tim's absence, so the only person they see the whole morning is Alfred. After breakfast, Timmy decides they were going to watch a science documentary, so they spent until lunch time in Tim's room with that set up on the laptop. Timmy was very engrossed in it. Con, however, kept getting bored, would watch Timmy or play games on his phone. Lunch comes around, and Dick is waiting in the kitchen when they arrive. He's very cheerful. He very cheerfully greets them, but Timmy hides behind Con. Con can see Dick's heart shattering through his eyes. He feels for him, but Timmy also doesn't actually know him, so there's no blame there. Con turns and puts a hand on Timmy's cheek. Hey, that's Dick. He's your brother, and he loves you very much. He's not going to do anything to hurt you. Timmy still looks nervous, and Con isn't sure how to reassure him. Alfred speaks up from where he was making cold pasta salad at the bench. Remember my promise, Master Timmy? I will not allow anyone to act in such way under this roof. Alfred holds Timmy's eye contact until Timmy hesitantly steps further into the kitchen and moves to sit next to Dick at the other side of the bench to Alfred, then goes back to the pasta. Hey Timmy, it's good to meet you. I'm excited to be your big brother. Dick plasters on a huge smile as he looks over at Timmy. Timmy scrunches his nose. Timothy doesn't think you're a great big brother, Timmy responds as he turns to watch what Alfred is doing. Con and Dick's eyes both go wide. Dick is shocked at the words themselves. Con not so much. You saw how tense Tim was around Nightwing since Con came back. He didn't know why. He had never asked, but he's not surprised. Con is, however, surprised that the words made it out into the open. Why? Dick sputters. Suddenly Timmy's heart rate picked up. It was racing. Outwardly, Timmy hasn't changed, but Con's pretty sure that's probably how they're dealing with Timothy, and he is terrified. Con places a hand on Timothy's shoulder and squeezes it gently. He leans down and whispers, "Hey, it's okay, I'm right here." Timothy takes a deep breath and turns to face Dick. Con keeps his hand on his shoulder, grounding him and reminding him he's not alone. I didn't want him to say that, but yeah. Dick's eyes tear up, and he goes to ask a question after question, but Timothy interrupts him before he can start. Look, I get why things happened the way they did, at least in the end, but everything with Damien and then Robin and Bruce, yeah, you weren't being such a great big brother. But Damien needed Robin more, I know. That part I get. I'm thrilled about how you went about it, not at all. But if you've talked to me, we could have figured something out. It's the rest of it. Timothy's eyes are watering, but he won't cry. He's trained himself too well to break now. He's tried to kill me more than once, and you never told him off for it. You just told me to be lenient with him. There's no excuse for that. He had a terrible childhood, I know, but you as the adults needed to let him know that those things were not okay. I don't fully blame him for how things turned out, but I do blame you. You just babied him and let him get away with it. And don't get me started on the whole situation with Bruce. I get you were grieving, and I don't want to hear it at the time. I get that. But what I don't get is threatening to throw me into Arkham. What I don't get is telling everyone with any sort of Justice League association that I'm crazy and not to help me. You took away every possible support that I could have. Do you know what the hell we went through because of that? Timothy is staring at Dick now, his eyes red but tears held in. Con has his hand pressing gently into his shoulder, but doesn't make any move to stop the rant. Timothy needs this. Even Alfred seemed to agree as he calmly mixes the salads. Dick starts, then stops, not knowing how to continue. Well, neither do I, because they kept themselves so separate from the rest of us. I know next to nothing about them. I don't know what memories they hold. I just know that some of the things that trigger them and a bit of how they act when fronting. And let me tell you, the little I do know does not paint a very pretty picture. Dick stares at Timothy with tears streaking down his face. Timothy sighs and rubs his face. Look, I get that you're human and you make mistakes. I need you. We need you to acknowledge that some of those mistakes really hurt us, and you can't keep brushing past that and pretending nothing happened. That's all, really, I guess. At that moment, Alfred hands over Timothy and Con's bowls of pasta salad. Why don't you two go sit out in the garden and eat your lunch? Timothy looks slightly deflated, like that rant took everything out of him. He sighs again. Thanks, Alfred. They take their bowls, and Con gently leads Timothy out to the kitchen door and out to the patio chairs. Con pulls Timothy into a hug after placing both bowls on the table and just lets him sob into his shoulder. Inside, Dick just stares after them, shell-shocked. Alfred clears his throat, and Dick jumps slightly. I think Master Timothy has been holding on to that for a long time. I do hope you will give it appropriate consideration, Master Richard. Dick stares blankly at Alfred, tears still flowing down his cheeks. Am I really such a terrible brother, Alfie? Alfred softens, just slightly, at the heartbreak in Dick's voice. You have made some grave mistakes. To be truly honest, I share partial blame for the situation surrounding Master Damien's relationship with Master Timothy. I had every ability you did to admonish his actions. I simply told myself it was never my place. However, things are not beyond fixing. Dick focuses on Alfred with such hope it was pitiful. Give Master Timothy some space and think over his words. Alfred hands over Dick a bowl of pasta. Though I think a good place to start is an apology for the harm you have caused. For now, eat your lunch, Master. Timothy will not be ready to talk until much later, I am sure. Dalfred? What? Anyway, Dick sniffs and wipes his eyes. He takes a deep breath and nods to himself. Yeah. This can be fixed. Just lunch for now. Give him some space. I got this. He swallows back the tears that threaten to resurface. I got this, he whispers to himself while digging into his lunch. Chapter 24. Summary. Red and Damien clear the air between them, and Red gets to help out on comms. Con and Timothy sit outside for a while, soaking in what little sunshine has made its way through the clouds. Tim ended up fronting after Timothy had cried himself out. Eventually, after Con promised Dick had gone back to his own room, the two of them took their bowls to Alfred in the kitchen and made their way to the lounge to play some more video games. Con was pleased to see Tim slowly starting to relax. He even let out a few soft laughs at Con's poor attempts at the games. He let Tim absolutely destroy him, and if anyone asked, he was going easy on Tim to cheer him up. Con hears Damien's soft footsteps approaching the room and turns around to glare at him in the doorway. Tim notices his movements and turns as well. He freezes when he sees Damien. What? Tim asks in a flat voice, though when Con looks down at Tim, he realizes this isn't Tim anymore. That posture and the way he's holding himself is all wrong. The flat voice gives it away too. Con pulls himself out of his contemplation to glare at Damien once again. Damien looks uncharacteristically nervous. He shuffles his feet just slightly, and he's rubbing his leather bracelet. May I speak with you? Tim tilts his head and considers this, then nods. His eyes follow Damien as he moves into the room and takes a seat to the side and in front of them. Who am I speaking with? Damien asks, holding eye contact and putting on a brave face. Con could almost believe it, if it weren't for the way Damien's heart is racing in his chest. Red, they say, watching Damien, almost without blinking. And another altar is present, but they do not wish to speak. Damien nods slowly as he takes this in. Is this acceptable? Damien blinks and stutters. What? Oh yeah, I just wanted to know who I was speaking with, and so I know how to adjust this conversation. Red waits, but Damien doesn't say anything further. Red sighs. And what conversation would that be? Red watches Damien carefully and waits for him to gather himself. I have come to some realizations that I have been incorrect in my assessment of you. My mother had taught me before I arrived that you were an interloper who needed to be disposed of. I have not worked to rid myself of these beliefs, and I see now that I have been misled. Father and Richard had been teaching me that family does not need to be blood, and nor does it need to be useful, but until now I saw no reason to apply such logic to you, and that was wrong, and so I suppose I would like to apologize for my actions and the harm I have caused you. Damien sits rigidly upright while he speaks, but the moment he finishes he lets his head fall so that his gaze is on the wringing hands in his lap. Red watches him for a long moment, and Con can feel a tension rising in the room, but he knows better than to try and intervene. This moment is for them, and to take however they wish. I appreciate the apology, Damien. Con watches the tension rush out of Damien's shoulders and wringing of his hands slow. He lifts his head to look at Red once more. I always understood that your actions were not truly coming from yourself, but the way you were raised, and I do not hold that against you. However, Damien tenses. You have enough time and love while living here that I had hoped you would have come to this realization much sooner. Once again, not all the blame is on you. Dick and Bea were not correcting your behavior as they should have. So, what I'm trying to say is that I appreciate your apology and you have my forgiveness. Damien sighs in relief, visibly slumps in his seat. Thanks, you... What? Damien sighs in relief and visibly slumps in his seat. Thank you, Red. This doesn't mean that everything is fine between us. I will still need you to prove that I can trust you and that you are trying to be a better brother. Red glares Damien down, but relaxes when Damien gives a terse nod. Of course, I will work to prove myself to you. Thank you for offering me the opportunity to do so. With that, Damien rises from his seat and walks out, Red watching him the whole way. Con carefully wraps an arm around Red's shoulders. That was very big of you, Con says as Red relaxes into his side. Red just shrugs in response. They sit in silence for a long moment, looking at the pause game on the screen. He's still just a kid. He has a chance to be better, and now he recognizes that he needs to be. I know he will work on it. Con hums and rubs Red's shoulders. Besides, we may not have access to the memories from the year we were looking for Bruce, but we sure knew as hell that Al Ghul that the Al-Ghouls are masters at manipulation. Con pulls Red into a tighter hug. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you. I'm sorry you had to go to them, Con whispers into his shoulder. Red scoffs, but is quickly followed by a sniff and a small tear dripping onto Con's shoulder. You were dead. You couldn't have helped. Red's voice comes out hoarse. They've been crying a lot lately. Yeah, well, I'm sorry no one else did. Couple more tears added to the stain forming on Con's shirt. They stayed together in each other's arms for a few minutes. Thank you, Red whispers. Then abruptly he pulls back and grabs his controller. Now let's see if we can find just one more game you can beat me at. Or, I guess, just even one. Con lets out a loud laugh and grabs his own controller. You're on! After dinner, Red approaches Bruce. B, I was hoping I would be able to help out on comms tonight. Red stands strong and appears outwardly very sure of himself, but the nervousness is visible in the way his hands clench and unclench at his sides. Bruce hums and looks him over, then turns to Con. Will you accompany him in case anything goes wrong? Con agrees quickly. He can see how much Red would appreciate this. Bruce turns back to Red and hums again. The moment Con or Alfred tell you to step away, you step away. And that goes for whoever is fronting. If they think you can't handle it, then don't fight them on it. Red rolls his eyes, but it's not like they've been doing patrols with this already existing or anything. Of course. Bruce stares at him for a second longer, then simply turns around and heads towards the Batcave. Red rolls his eyes again, but follows him. Con and Red get themselves set up at the computer, while Red at the computer and Con Con and Red get themselves set up at the computer. Well, Red at the computer and Con on his phone beside Red. Bruce, Stick, and Damien make their way into the main cave before dressing up in their gear and going on to checking their equipment. Red logs into the comms and puts in an earpiece. Barbara is already up and ready to go. Hey, Red Robin, how you holding up? Hey-o. We're getting there. A lot of processing happening, but I was itching to do something useful, so I'm going to be helping out on comms. Just make sure you have to step back the moment you need to break. Red rolls his eyes once more. Seriously, this isn't a new condition for them. They know how to handle themselves. They chatter some more until everyone starts gradually joining the comm line. Everyone but Black Bat, who is in Hong Kong, and Signal, who took the day shift, is out tonight. The night goes as smoothly as everyone expected. No one goes home with more than a few bruises, and Red is right about knowing his limits. At no point during the night did Alfred or Con see any reason to send Red away. Con and Red hang out and chat with Barbara about the night for a while before heading up to bed. Red really appreciated that no one had argued with him once he was there. He knows that he can handle, he's careful of his limits, and he can't wait until B lets him back in the field. Red gets ready for bed slowly, and by the time he is, Con is already fast asleep on the mattress at the foot of his bed. He smiles softly at Con. He is so grateful for his presence. It makes going to sleep even easier knowing that whoever wakes up, Con will be there should they need him. Now that Timmy knows Con, only JJ and that altar that doesn't trust him, and that's not how the sentence was written weirdly, sorry. Red trusts Con to be able to either comfort JJ or get someone else who can, and Con will be gentle with them. He is with any of them. Red falls asleep, and the night is satisfied with the day and hopeful for what comes next. Chapter 25. Summary. Cass comes home. Con wakes up in the dark just before dawn to Alfred moving around the house, then getting in the car and driving away. He thinks nothing of it as he lets himself fall back asleep. Wakes up again about an hour later to Alfred returning with a second heartbeat in the car. Now he's curious and keeps himself awake. He doesn't have to wait long to figure out who it is as they sneak into Tim's room. Moving so quietly, Con has to track them by their heartbeat. Con is on guard when the door cracks open, but the person notices him immediately and smiles and moves to sit on the mattress facing him. In the dim light, making its way through the curtains, Con gets a good look at her. She almost looks like she could be Tim's twin. She moves nearly silently, and Tim doesn't wake to her presence. Once she sat opposite of him, Con notices that she's signing. His understanding is a bit rough, but he can tell what she's saying. Tim, little brother? You Tim's friend? Con nods, and in return, she nods. I, Cass, protect little brother. You help. Con smiles gently at her and slowly but carefully forms a response. You know how much? Cass frowns as she tries to form the words to explain. Tim many. D-I-D. Little Tim hurt lots, so Tim now many. They protect. She looks proud when Con nods, proud at managing to get across what she needed to. They sit in companionable silence for another half an hour before Tim stirs. Tim blinks sluggishly at the world. His eyes fall on the two figures at the end of the bed, and he sits bolt upright, his eyes flickering fearfully between Con and Cass. Cass notices the fear and relaxes herself in the most non-threatening possible way she can. Hey, it's me, Con. Do you remember me? Tim watches him intensely. Yeah, you're a friend. Yeah, I'm a friend, Timmy, right? Is it okay if I get up and open the curtains? Timmy nods, so Con does so. He moves slowly, making sure not to make any sudden moves. This makes it back to where he was sitting and sees Timmy staring at Cass. Cass waits until Con is sitting again before she says anything. Hello, Timmy. I am Cass. I am your older sister. I will protect you. Timmy looks at her. To Con, it almost looks like Timmy was trying to stare into her soul. Cass doesn't flinch away and holds his gaze until he is satisfied. Thank you, Cass. Timmy's voice is so fragile, but there's real gratitude there. Cass smoothly and slowly stands and walks to give Timmy a hug. Good to meet you, little brother, she whispers into his hair. Timmy melts into her. Cass holds him for a long time. Con has to force himself to stay as still as he can to not disturb the moment. Cass sees this and chuckles softly. She releases Timmy and steps back. Timmy blinks up at Cass. Cass, when did you get here? Cass giggles. Hello, Tim. Just this morning. She sits herself next to him on the bed and gestures for Con to come join them. He sits on the other side of Tim, placing a gentle hand on Tim's knee. Not to be rude, but why are you here? I thought you were busy in Hong Kong. Cass waves him off. All wrapped up. I wanted to see that you were okay and come meet my new little siblings. I am here for you, for all of you. Tim's eyes water slightly. He wouldn't say it out loud, but he is so glad to have Cass here. Her, Barbara, and Duke are probably the only people in the family he doesn't have a complicated relationship with. Even with some of those relationships starting to heal, it's comforting to have something so solid, especially with Barbara not being around much and Duke being new to the family and not that close with any of them. Tim leans into Cass's arms and they hug each other tightly. Now, breakfast time. I will see you there when you are ready. With that, Cass practically dances out of the room. Tim smiles after her. Con stands and turns to face Tim. I'm gonna have a shower. You can head down and wait for me if you want. Tim doesn't respond, but Con isn't too worried. By the time he's out of the bathroom, Tim is dressed but sitting in the back of the bed and scrolling through his phone. He looks up as Con enters and smiles at him, but there's a sign of exhaustion clinging to him. But Tim is starting to look like he might believe he'll come out of this okay. Breakfast? Con holds out his hand to Tim. Tim takes it, and together they head for the kitchen. When they reach the kitchen, Cassie and Steph are seated in the nook while Alfred is cooking up some pancakes. The two of them sit opposite of Steph and Cass. Cass looks up and nods in greeting while Steph continues her story about one of her university classes. Neither Con nor Tim pay her story much attention as they drink their glasses of juice Alfred had brought over as soon as they sat down. Steph finishes her story and then turns to greet them. Con, Tim, it's good to see you. It is Tim, right? She barely pauses long enough for Tim to confirm. How did you guys sleep? Are you going to go to the gala tomorrow? I'm so glad I'm not actually Bruce's kid, so he doesn't have to force me into them. They sound so boring. Cass places a hand on Steph's arm while it's leaning on the table, and she stops rambling. Steph turns to look at Cass, and then she clears her throat. Right, sorry, rambling. How you guys doing? She speaks significantly slower now. Con chuckles. Tim just blinks at her. Con answers her. Yeah, I'm okay. He turns and looks at Tim, who just stares at Steph. Tim? Tim very nearly jumps at his name. He looks at Con and then back to Steph. Yeah, also okay. Steph and Cass both raise their eyebrows at him. Coping. Figuring out what all this means and how to move forward with it, I guess. Cass smiles sadly at him. Steph stares for a second and then shakes herself. Yeah, of course. That makes sense. The conversation falls silent in favor of eating the pancakes that Alfred brings over. They're still on their first pancake when Dick shows up in the doorway. He catches sight of Tim, and his face pales, his eyes start to water. He stands frozen for barely a second before turning and bolting away. Duke and Damien enter just after him, sending glances in the direction he fled. What was that about? Duke asks as they take their seats and start serving themselves. Everyone shrugs. Oh, wait, was that about yesterday? Con blurts out, all eyes turn to him. Tim's face scrunches up, then he sighs. Probably. Cass squints at Tim, while Duke and Stiff flick their eyes between Tim and Con. "You're not Tim," Cass states, fully confident. "No, I'm Timothy." Cass relaxes and goes back to her pancake. Timothy smiles appreciatively at her. "Yesterday, I may have let out some pent-up grievances at Dick, and it seems he's not ready to face me yet." The table falls silent. Everyone but Cass is staring at Timothy. He holds himself stiffly still in his seat. Con reaches out and takes his hand. Timothy looks down at their joint hands, then up at Con's face with a soft smile. Steph slowly breaks into a wicked grin. "You blew up at Dick? Oh, I wish I could have seen that. That would have been gold," she chuckles heartily. Timothy rolls his eyes, and Damien glares at her. "Other people's distress should not be your entertainment, Brown." Steph cackles louder while Damien's glare intensifies. Duke has to nudge her in the side to get herself under control. "Of course, I know, Damien. No, Dick must have had a hilarious face. I know their distress isn't my entertainment." She takes deep breaths to calm herself and keep her laughter locked inside. Damien grunts but returns to the food in front of him. "Anyway, are you going to the gala?" Timothy shrugs. "I would like to, as long as Bruce doesn't make a fuss about it." Steph lets out a fake cough that sounds suspiciously like weirdo. He ignores her. "Who else will be going?" Cass speaks up first. "I am, and Damien, Duke, and Bruce." Damien and Duke nod from their seats in agreement. "I don't know how you want to go. I've been to one, and Bruce could never drag me to another one," Steph whined. "It was the most boring thing I've ever done." She dramatically falls back in her chair, and Timothy chuckles at her. "I guess it makes me feel useful, like I'm doing something that I'm supposed to be doing. Galas are the main reason I exist in the first place, after all." Cass looks at him, searching his face. He holds her gaze. Eventually, she nods slightly and returns to her plate. Seth thinks over that. "Huh. Guess it makes sense, in a way." She pulls herself back in to look at him. "I still think you're a weirdo." "I think I can live with that." Timothy smiles in return. They settle and all finish their breakfast. Damien and Duke are ushered off to school while Tim comes back. He spends the day hanging out with Cass, Steph, and Con. They dance and play games and just spend time in each other's company. Dick creeps around the manor, staying out of their way. They just roll their eyes and continue whatever they were doing when they notice him. It's a good day. Chapter 26. Summary. Timothy is allowed to go to the gala. Unfortunately, some unwanted guests show up. Notes. Caution warning. Self-harm. Bruce was reluctant to let Timothy attend the gala, but had no real reason to prevent him from going, so he was allowed. Con offered to be there for support, but Timothy insisted that he would be alright without him, and he could stay behind. Besides, it would be better to avoid all the questions his presence would bring up. Late Sunday evening arrives with no issues, though Dick still appeared to be avoiding the rooms that Tim was in. Timothy decides that is a problem for another day. Con is hanging out in Tim's room with him while he gets himself ready for the gala. He has selected a deep red shirt with a charcoal suit and polished dress shoes. He's adjusting the cufflinks when Con speaks up from where he's laying on the bed. "You know, I trust you. Just promise you'll call if you need me." Con turns his head away from staring at the ceiling to look towards Timothy. Timothy takes a breath before turning to face Con. "I promise. Thank you for trusting me." He folds himself carefully to sit next to Con's head. Con scoffs. "Always." "I wish everyone else would," he mutters under his breath. Con watches him carefully. "I mean, this isn't new to any of us except Tim. We have a pretty good handle on it, and if it weren't for the fear toxin and the infection, I don't think we would have even slipped enough for them to notice." "I get that," Con agrees, while sitting up next to Timothy, "but they're scared and they care about you." At Timothy's scoff, he doubles down. "They do. They just suck at showing it. Tell you the truth, I think they had been ignoring it, all the signs, because they wanted desperately for you to be okay." His brows furrow, except Cass. I'm pretty sure she knew, but just didn't have the language to say anything about it. Timothy leans against Con's shoulder and, being careful not to mess up his hair, to have to tidy it up all over again. "They really do care about you, I promise." At the moment, Bruce knocks on the door and pokes his head in. "You ready to go?" Timothy stands up and brushes his suit, making sure it's sitting properly. He turns back in the doorway. "See you after, Con." Con smiles after him and watches him leave. Alfred drives Bruce, Cass, Timothy, Duke, and Damien to the gala and leaves them at the door, returning to the manor until it's time for them to return. Cass looks over at Timothy and squeezes his hand. She smiles at him. Her face is full of confidence in him. It helps him feel confident in himself. He's done this all before. He knows how to handle gala crowds. They pass through the flashing cameras at the entrance with polite smiles and carefully crafted words. From there, it's more the same attendees inside. Timothy plays the crowd exactly like he always had. He's flawless, laughing at just the right moments, coming out with the right words, smiling and sympathizing when appropriate. Bruce finally starts to relax after an hour of watching his son dance through social politics he was brought up amongst. Duke and Damien watch him with varying hints of jealousy at his abilities. Neither of them are comfortable working the gala like he is. It only takes another 15 minutes for everything to go wrong. Security is formed by a group with white faces, red grins, and green hair. Security holds them back to stay alert, but there's so many of them that eventually they break through. The commotion slowly draws everyone's attention. Timothy's face pales and freezes in place. The group is shouting, throwing gas canisters and spraying bullets into the hall. Thankfully, it's just smoke to obscure everything and not Joker venom. The attendees start running and screaming and rushing for cover. Bruce and Cass notice at the same time and sprint towards Timothy, who's standing and staring at the commotion, completely blank. Cass reaches him first. He touches his arm, but they just collapse, laughter bubbling out of their chest, tears flow down their cheeks. They start punching themselves in the temple, both hands at once. Cass tries desperately to get a response from them, but they are beyond her reach. She instead positions herself between them and the growing crowd of Joker wannabes. She curls her body over theirs, protecting them as much as she can until Bruce reaches them. Bruce reaches them and doesn't bother trying to calm JJ down. He simply scoops him up, laughter and punching and all. Cass follows behind Bruce as they race down the hall and further into the building. Damien and Duke join them as soon as they pass through the first doorway. They're speaking to each other in hushed voices over JJ's head. I saw Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood just outside. They should have the situation handled shortly. Bruce grunts in response. What do we do about... Damien's voice trails off. Bruce hesitates. We need somewhere quiet. No one around. Cass and Damien look, then lead the group to the stairs, away from the crowd rushing to the exits. Finally, they come into an empty room just beyond the stairs. Looks like a small meeting room. Bruce lowers JJ to the ground. Their laughter has died down, but they're still punching themselves. Give us some space, Bruce asks. Cass looks at the two of them for a second, then ushers Duke and Damien to stand guard outside the door with her. Bruce sits himself down in front of JJ. He starts talking softly. Hey JJ, I'm right here. Nightwing and Hood will deal with those crazy people. But I promise, the Joker isn't coming back. He can't hurt you. You made sure of that. You made sure he wouldn't hurt anyone again. I'm right here. You're going to be okay, JJ. As Bruce speaks up slowly, he reaches out and grabs JJ's wrist in an attempt to hold them back from hurting themselves further. At this contact, they scream, so they immediately pull back and he puts his hands in his lap where JJ can see them. It's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you. Do you remember me? It's Bruce. I'm not gonna hurt you, JJ. You're okay. You're safe here. Gradually, JJ slows down their frantic movements, but Bruce worries that it's not enough, because they're calming down, but rather that they're getting fatigued. Not to mention the concern of concussion from how they've been punching themselves. Just as Bruce considers trying to touch JJ again, they open their mouth and stutter, Con. Within seconds, Con appears outside the door and Cass lets him in. JJ looks up with tears streaking down their face and their eyes blurred and unfocused. Con? Con floats himself over and settles in front of JJ next to Bruce. Yeah, I'm Con. You're JJ, aren't you? JJ nods and grabs their head and groans. Is it right if I touch you, JJ? JJ hums non-committally. Con decides to risk it and reaches out and touches JJ's shoulder. When they don't react, Con gently pulls them into his lap. Con looks over at Bruce, who's watching JJ carefully. Bruce is going to check that you don't have a concussion, okay? JJ doesn't react again. But Bruce carefully pulls out a small torch and checks JJ's pupils. They definitely don't have a concussion, Bruce whispers to Con. Sorry, that's not the line. They definitely have a concussion, Bruce whispers to Con. Okay, Con mutters. Hey JJ, I'm gonna take you back to the manor and we can make sure that you're okay. Turning to Bruce, he continues. Alfred should be nearly here. He left as soon as they hit the news. Will you be okay to take them back? Bruce waves him off. Just get JJ safe. Con flies off, holding JJ gently and protecting him from the Russian wind. In less than a minute, they're back in the manor. Con starts to head down to the cave to the med bay, and JJ starts screaming before they reach its clock. Okay, no cave. Lounge it is. They stop by a bathroom for a first aid kit and then settle on the couch, holding JJ close to his chest. Con pulls out a cold pack and a bottle of pain medicine out the first aid kit before abandoning the rest of it on the floor in front of the couch. He preps the cold pack and places it carefully against JJ's forehead. A small amount of the tension falls away from their body. I have pain medicine that you can take, or is that a no-go? JJ shakes their head frantically, so Con immediately drops the bottle on the floor with the rest of the kit. All good. Won't give you any medicine. JJ hugs into Con's chest the moment the bottle leaves his hand. Timothy was right. He said I could trust you. The words come out slurred, but Con still understands. As much as it hurts to see them like this, it warms Con's heart that Timothy sees him as a person that they can all trust. They stay like that until one of the others return, Con ensuring that JJ stays awake the whole time by telling them any stories he can think of. Bruce bursts into the room and demands, "Why didn't you take them to the med bay?" Cass follows him in, along with Duke and Damien. Took one look at the way JJ tensed at that and butted in. No med bay. Con smiles tidily at Cass. Thank you. Yeah, they started screaming the second I started heading towards that direction, so I figured it would just be good here to have a cold pack until Alfred can check them over. Bruce does look ashamed and mutters an apology, then something about wanting to go wait in the cave for Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood. Bruce passes Alfred on his way out. Master JJ, may I check that you have for any injuries beyond the concussion? Con feels JJ tuck closer into him for a second before relaxing and nodding to Alfred. Once Alfred is satisfied, he leaves them be. Duke, Damien, and Cass move on to the nearby couch. A while later, Dick, Steph, and even Jason all come to take their seats around the room. All of them take turns quietly telling stories to keep JJ awake and as alert as possible. Alfred comes back with Bruce in tow about 5 minutes after everyone is settled. Alfred just makes his way to the unoccupied chair. Bruce hesitates in the doorway for a second. I apologize for my outburst earlier, Con. Thanks. Everyone settles back into the rhythm of quiet storytelling, and Bruce sits on the far end of the couch Con and JJ are occupying. For a moment, they're all okay. 7. Summary. The family has a nice breakfast together until Dick triggers Tim. JJ makes it away of the danger zone of their concussion with no issues, but no one feels like moving from the lounge, so they all end up having one big sleepover. Everyone sprawls out on the various surfaces throughout the room. Even Jason stays the night. The morning sun shines over the family, sleeping peacefully all together. Alfred smiles at the sight, then gets to work preparing breakfast for the horde. Jason is the first to join him in the kitchen, helping out by making some waffles. Then Damien and Cass combine start chopping fruits and berries. One by one, they all trickle in and find some way to help get ready for breakfast. Until the only ones left are Tim and Bruce. Bruce had seen Con torn up between helping and making sure Tim wasn't alone, and since he's still banned from the kitchen, he waved Con off to go help. Tim wakes up to see the room full of empty piles of pillows and blankets. Bruce sits in the armchair nearest him and reading the news on his tablet. Bruce is relieved that in the panic of last night, no one picked up on anything unusual about JJ's behavior. He watches Tim sit up and slowly and bring a hand to his head. Morning, sweetheart. How are you feeling? My head hurts, Tim groans. Bruce smiles sadly. Yeah, you got a concussion last night. What's the last thing you remember? That's not gonna help judge brain damage, you know. Bruce just chuckles in response. I know, I'm trying to figure out what you know. We kept an eye on you last night, and I think you're clear for brain damage. Tim rolls his eyes but looks at the ceiling as he thinks. Cass was here, so was Steph. We were talking, I think they wanted to know if I was going to the gala. He looks back at Bruce and shrugs. Bruce hums and nods. So you don't remember anything from the gala? Tim just shakes his head. He watches Bruce with slight suspicion. Bruce sighs and looks at Tim intently. There was an attack. Several people were shot. No fatalities, thankfully. It was a group of Joker fanatics. Bruce watches Tim carefully, searching for any hint that they need to stop. Tim looks serious and upset, but not distressed in a way that indicated JJ was fronting again. One of your alters got very upset in the distress and caused you concussion. Me and the others were able to remove you from the situation without drawing any attention, and Khan brought you back to the manor. Tim is taking slow, deep breaths and holding his head like it hurts. Which it did. I don't get why that man still has fanatics. It's been 3 years and he was a monster. I'll never understand some people. Tim raises his head and to look at Bruce and rubs gently at his forehead. He notices Bruce's concern as he looks at him. Don't worry, I'm still Tim. Bruce nods in acknowledgement and stands, offering a hand to Tim. Shall we join everyone for breakfast? Tim takes the offered hand and follows Bruce to the kitchen, where the last of the dishes are being spread out on the bench. Perfect timing, everything's ready, Jason calls out upon their entrance. Breakfast is a sight to behold. Waffles, pancakes, buttered toast, hash browns, sausages, bacon, eggs, yogurt, cream, fruits, berries, juice, and tea are lined along the bench. Tim hangs back from the chaos that erupts as everyone tries to grab what they want. When most of them are seated in the breakfast nook, he steps forward and fills his own plate. The morning chatter falls quiet, and Tim takes a seat next to Con. Morning, Tim. How's your head? Cass asks gently. Tim gives her a quick small smile. It hurts, but I'm okay. Cass smiles back in response. Tim looks down and starts digging into his food. Cass takes a hint and turns to ask Jason how his tutoring in Crime Alley is going. Everyone keeps their voices low in volume in consideration for Tim's headache, but conversations start back up. Tim is grateful. Slowly, people finish off and head off to whatever they had to do in the Sunday morning. Eventually, Tim, Con, and Dick are the only ones left. Dick has been holding conversation very well, but picking slowly at his food. Tim isn't sure how much has made it into his mouth. Tim finishes breakfast, and he and Con start to take their dishes to the kitchen. Tim stands abruptly when they do. Tim turns to raise an eyebrow at him. Can I talk to you? Tim lets his confusion wash over his face. I mean, sure. What's up? Dick gulps, then steels himself and looks at Tim in the face. I had a conversation with Timothy the other day, and made me realize some things. I'm sorry I never did anything about Damien's behavior, and I'm sorry about how everything went down after Bruce died. I was drowning. No, sorry, no excuses. I should have listened to you about talking things out, and maybe things wouldn't have gone down like they did. I feel terrible about everything, and I'm so sorry you had to turn to the League of Assassins. That should have never happened, or never had to be in consideration. Not that I'm blaming you for doing that, what needed to be done. Just, I shouldn't have let it get to the point. I'm just trying to say I'm sorry for all of it. Tim stares at Dick and blinks. During Dick's ramble, they slowly edged themselves so that their back was to the stove and so that they could see the whole kitchen. Con watches them as worry builds in their chest. Dick has at some point looked down at his wringing hands, but then looks back up at Tim. Are we going to be okay? Tim's head jerks in a nod. Dick lets out a breath of relief and searches forward to hug Tim. Con tries to call it to stop him, but Tim doesn't hear anything. Tim twists Dick's arm and steps behind him, pulling it back against Dick's back. Dick cries out in shock and pain. Tim doesn't move. Con moves so that Tim can see him and starts trying to calm down. Hey, Dick wasn't trying to hurt you. He won't touch you if you don't want to. Can you let go of him, please? Tim blinks at Con and looks at between Con and Dick. They start listening in their grip. Unfortunately, Alfred walks in at that moment. He sees the situation in hand, clocks Dick's terror, and immediately scolds him. Master Tim, let your brother go this instant. Tim drops Dick's arms like it's burning and steps back. They turn so they're directly facing Alfred and have their back mostly covered by the cabinets. Alfred ignores Tim in favor of ensuring that Dick is unharmed. He rushes forward to Dick. Are you all right, Master Richard? Dick gasps for a second before shaking his head clear. Yeah, he just gave me fright. I'm fine. While Alfred was distracted with Dick, Tim took the opportunity to slip out of the room. Con was watching them and followed, but he couldn't see them by the time he got into the hallway they used to leave. Con heard Dick still talking behind him, trying to steal Alfred, but he could mostly only hear the pounding of his own heartbeat. He can't find them. He goes to Tim's room, checking the lounge, the library, the studies, anything, and they aren't in any of those places, and Con can't get his heart to calm down enough to listen for their heart. Even so, he should be able to hear it, but he can't, and it scares him. He runs into Bruce on his way to check the cave, literally. Whoa, what's wrong? Con tries to push past Bruce, but he grabs his shoulders. Tim, I can't find Tim. I can't hear him. I don't know where he is. Con knows he's baffling, but he's scared, and he doesn't have it in him to care right now. Tim was terrified, and a terrified Tim may not be safe. A terrified, and also hiding, and alone Tim doesn't seem like a good combination right now. Slow down, I'm sure he's okay. Right now, they need you to breathe. Con looks at Bruce, who smiles softly. That's it. In and out. Con nearly cries in frustration. No, he's not okay. He's not okay, and I can't hear him, and I don't know where he is. But he's not okay. Bruce startled slightly at the outburst, but somehow managed to remain outwardly calm. You still need to breathe, Con. You're not going to find him if you're panicking. Seemed to break through to Con, and he starts hiccuping in the way of taking deep breaths. Good job. In and out. Slowly, Con's breathing returns to normal. Can you hear him now? Con sucks a deep breath and listens. Yeah, he's in Gotham. Why is he in Gotham? How did he get there so fast? I need to get him. Con moves to bolt out after Tim, but Bruce puts a hand on his arm. Con turns, ready to glare at him and yell at him. Deep breaths, then go find Tim. I'll follow behind. Just take this so I can track you. It takes a small tracker Bruce is offering and slips it into his pocket. Then he's gone without waiting for anything more. Bruce takes a few deep breaths and goes quickly down to the cave so he can follow after Con in the Batmobile as quickly as he can. Chapter 28, Summary. Con finds Tim out in Gotham. Notes. Caution warning. Suicide attempt. Con follows Tim's heartbeat, not caring who sees him. The fear and despair he can feel drive him faster and faster. He listens to the deliberate and steady breathing. He can follow his own breathing hitch in his throat. Something is deeply wrong. Con finds Tim on the edge of the roof of Wayne Enterprise. Right on the edge of the roof. They don't turn when Con lands behind him, but Con can see the way that their shoulders tense, and they know that he's there. Con is terrified, but he knows that right now he needs to shove that far down. He needs to make sure that Tim is safe first. Hey, I'm not going to touch you, I promise. I won't even touch you unless I have to, okay? Tim's eyes flick around to him and back to the ground that is far, far below them. Con forces himself to take a deep breath. Can you step back, please? That gets a jerky shake of his head. Okay. Con blinks back, the tears welling up in his eyes. Now is not the time for that. I'm gonna come stand next to you. I promise I won't touch you unless you start to go over. Tim doesn't react, so Con slowly steps closer until he's standing just out of reach beside them on the edge of the roof. From here, he can see their face. It's completely blank. No sign of tears or wrinkles of expression. And that scares Con even more. You're the one that went looking for Bruce, aren't you? Tim stands rigidly still for a moment, then gives a sharp nod. Con hums and turns his face outward. I'm sorry for everything you had to go through, and I'm sorry you went through it alone. I know we can't change from what happened, but everyone wants to do better by you from now on. He looks back and where they haven't moved an inch. I promise. The two of them stand in silence while Con listens to Bruce in the Batmobile pulling up right underneath them. Finally, Con says, You gotta know that I'm not gonna let you fall. I can't do that. Tim says nothing, but they slowly reach into their pocket and pull out a small lead box. Con's eyes go wide in terror. Con lunges for the box, trying to get it away before they have the chance to open it, but somehow they're faster. They pull out and slide open the box. Con immediately feels the effects of kryptonite. He's dizzy and can feel his body weighing him down. This just got a lot more dangerous. In this condition, Con can't fly and can't safely use his speed. Besides that, he's weaker. Tim could badly hurt him if he tried to restrain them. Con slowly steps back where he was before he lunged. Con watches him out of the corner of his eyes, holding tight on the kryptonite in his fist. You're prepared, Con breathes out, knowing that they will hear him. Our gaze flicks fully to him before returning directly ahead. I still can't let you go through with this. If you go over, I'm coming with you. I don't care what the consequences are. Tim stares blankly ahead, and Con doesn't bother pretending to not be watching them closely. For a long time, nothing happens. Neither of them say anything. Just keep staring. Then, Tim steps over the edge. There was no warning, no change in their heartbeat or breathing, no small twitch. Only what remains of Con's speed allows him to grab them as they fall, but he had no hope of keeping them on the roof. They fall together, Con growing dizzier by the second as the hand with the kryptonite is pressing into his chest. All Con can do is pray that Batman is prepared. Time seems to stretch on forever, and Con watches as Tim's blank expression finally breaks just enough to let the tears track their cheeks. Con holds them tight to his chest, trying to wrap his body around to take as much of the damage as he can. Then Batman crashes into the side, sweeping them into a low arc across the face of Wayne Enterprise just before skimming the ground. Batman lets it grapple enough to stumble along to the ground, holding the weight of the two of them. They stay on their feet for a moment before all of them fall to the ground, but they all survive the fall, with nothing worse than a wrenched shoulder and some bruised ribs. All of a sudden, Tim sobs. One moment there's nothing, and next they're sobbing, loud, heaving cries. Con stays wrapped around them until they start writhing and shoving at him, trying to escape. Con is too dizzy and weak to stop them. Thankfully, they don't have to try to get far. Shuffling back, and they're not touching anyone, their back is to a nearby wall. Bruce would have let them gather themselves, but Con was worsening. He needed to get the kryptonite covered by lead. Bruce slowly approaches them, and the sobbing intensifies and their body shakes, but he reaches out and pries the kryptonite out of their fist. With it tucked safely back in a specially designed lead-lined pocket of his belt, Tim steps back and the shaking lessens. Con takes a steadying breath, then another. Soon he's sitting up together. He and Bruce watch as Tim cries themselves out. After several minutes, Tim is sitting there, hunched over against the wall with hiccuping breaths. Con, who is almost completely recovered from the kryptonite exposure, slowly approaches to sit directly in front of Tim, but taking care to not touch them. "Hey, can you hear me?" They give a shaky nod. "Can I touch you?" That gets a frantic shake of their head. "Okay, I won't touch you. Can you stand?" Nothing happens for a moment, then they push off the wall and stumble to their feet. Con also stands and steps back. Together, all three of them slowly make their way to where Bruce had left the Batmobile. Tim hesitates at the door. No hospital. No medbay. Bruce looks at him like he's about to protest, but Con speaks over him. "That's okay. Can we have Alfred check you for any injuries?" Tim hesitates for a moment longer, then nods and ducks into the car. Con slips into the seat next to them, and Bruce into the driver's seat. The drive back to the cave is silent. Con listens as Tim's heart speeds up as they enter the tunnels. "Hey, we're not going to make you go to the medbay. We just can't let the Batmobile be seen outside the manor. Then we'll go straight into the manor." Tim takes a deep breath after hearing Con's words, and their heart slowly returns to almost normal. True to Con's words, they park the Batmobile and go straight to the elevator. Bruce lifts off to change his gear without saying a word. Tim beelines for his room. Con follows and stops in the doorway. "I'm gonna go get Alfred. Will you stay here?" Tim nods once, sitting hard on the bed. "Okay, gonna trust you. Please don't make me regret that." Con turns and walks down to the kitchen. Alfred looks up as he enters. "Master Con, is everything all right?" Con has to fight back tears as he opens his mouth to explain. He calls, takes a deep breath, and tries again. Tim is up in their room. "Would you just be able to check them over for injuries?" Alfred raises an eyebrow but puts down the dishes and dries his hand, gestures for Con to lead the way. They walk back to Tim's room, and Con lets out a breath of relief to see Tim hasn't moved from where he left them. "What may I call you?" Alfred asks as he looks over Tim from a distance. Tim looks Alfred in the face and then slowly opens and closes his mouth. They look at the floor. Shadow. Con hides the shock at the reveal. It makes sense that they're dealing with the previously unnamed alter, but that isn't what shocks them. It's the fact that they've now given a name. Alfred, of course, takes it in stride. Very well, Master Shadow." They hide it well, but there's definitely a slight flinch at the name. It breaks Con's heart. "Master Con has requested I check you over for injuries. May I do so?" Shadow nods and stares blankly at the floor. Alfred is gentle as he can be, removing what layers of clothing he can, pressing gently against the bruises to the bones underneath. Throughout the examination, Shadow remains completely docile, outwardly indicating of their racing. There is no outward indication of the racing heart Con can hear inside their chest. Finally, Alfred steps back. "Thank you, Master Shadow." There was that flinch again. "It would appear that you have no injuries more serious than a few deep bruises." At that moment, Bruce appears in the doorway. "Thank you, Alfred." Alfred bows slightly and returns to the kitchen, leaving Shadow, Con, and Bruce. "If you're up to it, I think we need to talk." Chapter 29. Summary. They all figure out what the next steps are. Notes. Caution warning, discussion of suicide attempt. Shadow sits hunched in the middle of the bed. Con sits on the edge facing them, and Bruce pulls at the desk chair to sit at the side of the bed. "Can you tell me what just happened?" Shadow stares at their feet, but makes sure to keep Bruce, Con, the windows, and the door within sight. Nothing happens for a long time. Bruce opens his mouth to ask if they heard him when they shake their head. Bruce huffs slightly, not sure how to proceed. Would you be able to let someone else front and talk to us? Con watches the Shadow consider this. He waits patiently for an answer. Shadow softly nods. Then between 1 second and the next, their whole demeanor changes. Their heart rate starts to slow down, their shoulders relax, and they lift their eyes to look at Con and Bruce. Tears start flowing down their cheeks again. Hey, we're here. Con carefully reaches out and puts a hand on their knee. They grasp it and take a deep breath in and out. It's Timothy now. Another deep breath in and out. Okay, what do you want to know? Timothy looks up and gives Con a quick smile and squeezes their hand before turning to face Bruce. You were trying to kill yourself, correct? Timothy nods. Do you know why? He sighs, but nods and goes to speak. They've always been fragile, about as fragile as JJ, but quieter about it. Timothy's eyes start watering again, but he blinks away. Dick was trying to apologize and brought up, well, things about our time looking for you. That's about when I got blocked out, but, Con, did you see what happened next? Timothy looks over at Con, who squeezes his hand. Yeah, Dick apologized, tried to give them a hug. I did try to warn him that it didn't seem like a good thing, but yeah. Timothy winces, but they didn't say anything. They twisted Dick's arm into a hole. Didn't look like they actually did any damage, but Dick was still clearly terrified. Tried to calm them down, but they still had Dick's arm when Alfred walked in. He had scolded them and dropped Dick's arms and backed up. After that, they ran away, and I panicked, and then ran into you, Bruce. Bruce nods, and Timothy lets it alongside. That's a mess. Bruce grunts in agreement. Okay, I think they felt like they were dangerous, and a weapon, and broken, and it was better to take us out of the picture. Con shuffles around and pulls Timothy into a hug. He collapses into it. I can't believe that just happened. I knew they were strong, but I never thought they would. Con rubs Timothy's back and hushes them as they break into sobs again. Bruce watches awkwardly until Timothy wrestles his crying back under control. Bruce starts cautiously. I think it might be time to sort out getting you on medication and in therapy. But that can wait until you've had rest. Right now, I think you need to sleep. Timothy nods and collapses even further into Con. Con settles them so they're laying down on top of the bed. Bruce returns his chair to the desk and starts to leave. Come find me when they wake up, he whispers to Con before closing the door behind him. Tim wakes up to Con curled protectively around him. By the light streaming in through the curtains, it seems to be mid-afternoon. Con notices he's awake and pulls back to smile at him. Afternoon, how you feeling? Tim sits up while he thinks about it. Sore. What happened? Con sits and stares at him without answering. Con, what happened? Con sighs. I don't know how this is going to go, but just try and stay with me, okay? Bruce wants to talk with you. Tim's starting to get worried. He just goes to ask again when Con hesitates. Just stay with me. Yeah? Tim shuts his mouth and nods. One of your alters got very upset, and I had to follow them to Wayne Enterprise Tower. They stepped off. Tim blinks at Con, his eyes watering, but he still looks completely present. That's why you're sore. We couldn't catch you nicely, so you got a bit bruised. For a long time, Tim just sits there and takes in the information. You still with me, Tim? Tim nods absently at Con's word, but Con trusts him, so they sit together in silence until Tim is ready to speak again. I take it that's what Bruce wants to talk to me about? Tim smiles sadly and agrees. Tim takes a deep breath and sighs. He stands and holds his hand out to Con. Let's go do this then. The two of them walk hand in hand to Bruce's study. When Tim can't seem to bring himself to knock, Con does it for him. Bruce lets them in and they sit on the couch. Bruce in the middle with Con and Bruce on either side of him. Bruce clears his throat. Who's fronting right now? Oh, Tim. I'm Tim, he stutters. Okay, I take it Con told you what happened? When Tim nods, he continues. I know you were against the idea before, but I think it's time to revisit the antidepressants. And since the other alters aren't trying to hide from you, I think therapy would be a good idea as well. Tim stares blankly ahead, for a long time. No one tries to break the silence, letting him take the time to process. Yeah, you're probably right. I guess I can give it a go. I gotta check with the others, though. It's not just my decision, is it? Bruce watches Tim as he speaks. He can see the fear and anxiety pouring out of him. He carefully reaches over and pulls Tim into a hug. Of course, we're going to be there for you, all the way. Tim sniffles in Bruce's shoulder and Con rubs his back. Bruce pulls away and wipes tears from Tim's cheeks. Now, how about we get you some food? You haven't eaten since breakfast. And then the three of them make their way to the kitchen to find some sandwiches in the fridge that Alfred had put there for Tim and Con earlier. Tim's about halfway through the sandwiches when he says, everyone's fine with it. Well, JJ, Timmy, and them are scared but willing. I take it this is Timothy, Bruce asks. Looking up from where he's been working on his tablet, Timothy takes a bite of his sandwich before responding. Oh, yeah, sorry. I checked with everyone. We can take the antidepressants and we'll go to therapy. Some of us aren't ready to talk, but we'll try to make sure they aren't fronting for it. Another bite. Con reaches over and squeezes their knee. Red isn't happy that it'll mean we can't patrol for a while, and, we'll probably need close to 24/7 supervision for the first week or two of the meds kick in. We should probably talk to Bart and Cassie and see if they're willing to help out with that. We should still be able to do some behind-the-scenes work for both WE and night work. Just probably not a lot of worth risking of in-person stuff with the heavy workload as we try to figure out therapy. Grace chuckles. Slow down, Timothy. We can talk all of that out after you finish your food. I'll go let Leslie know that you're starting them and we can get down to the Justice League therapist together. Though, if you don't like any of them, we can look for someone else. But for now, finish your sandwich. Timothy blushes and takes another bite as Bruce walks out to call Leslie. He looks up at Con and whispers, Thank you. Con smiles back. I'll always be here for you. Always. Anyway, that's the end of New Meds. I'm gonna go into the notes and then I'll talk. That's notes. That's the end of the first story. The next installment of the series is currently a work in progress. Hopefully it will be ready to start posting soon. Thank you all for reading. So, the next part of Traumatized Bat Kids is currently slowly updating. We're at 28 out of 38 chapters so far. I will be podficking this next, because I'm pretty sure they will let me. This next little end of this part of this video will just be me talking about New Meds, so if you want to listen to that, stay. If you don't, that's fine to leave. Adore New Meds. I had been following it since I think the second or third chapter, and reading it because it came out daily. I don't know how this person does it, but oh my god, Ace, if you're watching this, holy cow. Yeah, I really enjoyed New Meds. It's so much fun. The next part is a lot more nitty and gritty, I guess. It generally goes into a lot more heavy topic stuff. So that is a little bit fair warning, I guess, if I will... Okay, I will probably start the next part, which is called, let me check, Managing Side Effects, in probably a couple weeks, just so that I can podfic other stuff that I've been wanting to, and I also might just wait until it's finished to start podficking it. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed New Meds, and I really hope you guys did too. I got a lot of support on this series, and a lot of friends, purple, harassing me for more, so yeah. Here it is. Here is all of it, and I hope you guys enjoyed. There will be probably tomorrow, a compilation of all the parts together, so there's also that. But yeah, overall, everyone have a good day, and I will see you in the next one, I guess. For staying, here's your reward of some hilariously stupid bloopers from me trying to say humiliate. God damn it. My defeat feels slightly less humiliating. Humiliating. Humiliating? Humiliating. Humiliating. Humiliated. What? How do I humiliate?